Imagine placing two buttons in front of someone. The first button gives them $50 immediately. The second gives them $100, but only if they wait 1 year. Most people believe they'd choose the second button. After all, it's the smarter decision. But when psychologists recreated versions of this experiment, something surprising happened. Again and again, people sacrificed a much larger future reward for a smaller reward they could enjoy right now. Not because they were unintelligent, not because they were irresponsible, but because their brains were doing exactly what millions of years of evolution had programmed them to do. Which raises an uncomfortable question. What if overspending isn't simply a bad habit? What if it's part of being human? Every year, millions of people promise themselves they'll spend less. They download budgeting apps, watch financial videos, open savings accounts. For a few weeks, everything goes according to plan. Then comes an unexpected purchase, a weekend sale, a stressful day, a vacation, a bonus paycheck. Somehow, the money disappears. The cycle begins again. Most people blame a lack of discipline, but neuroscience tells a very different story. Because long before humans worried about retirement accounts or mortgage payments, our ancestors faced a completely different problem: survival. Imagine living 50,000 years ago. There are no supermarkets, no refrigerators, no guaranteed meals. Food appears unpredictably. A successful hunt today says nothing about tomorrow. In that world, consuming resources immediately wasn't reckless. It was intelligent. Saving for a distant future carried enormous risk because the future itself wasn't guaranteed. Natural selection rewarded people who took advantage of opportunities while they existed. Eat the fruit before someone else does. Use the shelter before winter arrives. Accept immediate rewards whenever possible. That instinct helped humanity survive. The modern world changed in only a few centuries. Our brains haven't had time to catch up. Today, food is abundant. Shopping takes seconds. Credit cards allow purchases without immediate consequences. Yet our ancient reward system still reacts as though every opportunity might disappear forever. This is where everything changes. Neuroscientists have discovered that dopamine, the brain chemical often associated with pleasure, is actually more closely linked to anticipation than satisfaction. In other words, your brain often becomes more excited before buying something than after owning it. Think about the last expensive purchase you made. Perhaps it was a new phone, a car, a vacation. Notice when the excitement peaked. Was it months later? Or was it during the research, watching reviews, comparing models, imagining how life would improve? The anticipation created the strongest emotional reward. Once the purchase became familiar, the excitement quietly faded. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Humans rapidly become accustomed to positive changes. Today's luxury becomes tomorrow's normal. The new sofa blends into the living room. The new car becomes the commute. The upgraded house becomes simply home. Our brains quickly reset. Then they begin searching for the next source of excitement. However, marketers understand this process remarkably well. Advertising rarely focuses on practical features. Instead, it sells emotional futures. The commercial doesn't promise a better vehicle. It promises adventure, confidence, status, belonging. Technology companies don't just launch products. They create countdowns, exclusive previews, limited editions, launch events watched by millions. Why? Because anticipation is often more profitable than ownership. Companies aren't simply competing for your money, they're competing for your dopamine. The surprising part is that they don't need to change your personality. They only need to activate instincts you already possess. Behavioral economist George Lowenstein describes something called the hot-cold empathy gap. When we're calm, we believe we'll make rational decisions later. But when emotions become intense, stress, excitement, loneliness, boredom, we dramatically underestimate how differently we'll behave. Think about online shopping late at night, or browsing while feeling frustrated after work. The logical version of yourself disappears. Emotion quietly takes control. Hours later, a delivery arrives that the calmer version of you barely remembers ordering. It wasn't a lack of intelligence. It was a different psychological state making the decision. Then something unexpected happened. Researchers studying payment methods discovered another fascinating effect. People spend significantly more when using credit cards than cash. Why? Because cash creates immediate psychological pain. You physically watch the money leave your hands. Credit cards delay that feeling. Digital payments reduce it even further. The brain experiences less resistance because the loss feels abstract. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler called this the psychology of mental accounting. The easier money feels to spend, the less carefully we evaluate each purchase. Technology has made spending almost frictionless. One click, one tap, one fingerprint. The distance between desire and ownership has almost disappeared. Our prehistoric brains were never designed for that kind of environment. But here's what nobody tells you. Overspending isn't always about buying things. Often, it's about buying emotions. Someone buys expensive clothes hoping to feel confident. Someone upgrades their home searching for security. Someone books an extravagant vacation because they're exhausted. Someone orders takeout because they're overwhelmed. The purchase becomes an emotional solution. The object itself is almost secondary. This explains why simply earning more money rarely solves overspending. Income changes, psychology often doesn't. Research on lifestyle inflation shows that as earnings rise, expectations tend to rise alongside them. Yesterday's luxury becomes today's necessity. A nicer apartment leads to nicer furniture. A promotion encourages more expensive restaurants. A higher salary introduces wealthier social circles. Without noticing, your definition of normal expands. Social comparison quietly accelerates the process. Psychologist Leon Festinger proposed that humans naturally evaluate themselves relative to others. In small villages, comparison involved neighbors. Today, comparison happens with celebrities, entrepreneurs, influencers, and strangers displaying carefully edited versions of their lives. No matter how much you earn, someone online appears to have more. Comparison has no finish line. Neither does consumption. Perhaps that's why two households earning the same income can experience completely different financial realities. One family views money as a tool for future freedom. The other views money as a tool for present identity. The numbers may be identical, the psychology is not. Legendary investor Warren Buffett once observed that if you buy things you don't need, you'll eventually have to sell things you do. It's a simple sentence, but beneath it lies an important psychological truth. Every purchase competes with your future, not just financially, emotionally. Every unnecessary expense exchanges future choices for present feelings. Sometimes that's worthwhile. Often, it happens automatically. The people who consistently build wealth aren't born with different brains. They simply learn to interrupt ancient instincts before acting on them. They understand that wanting something and needing something activate the same emotional circuits. They recognize that excitement is temporary, but consequences often compound for years. They don't eliminate desire, they become curious about it. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" they silently ask another question. What feeling am I trying to buy? That single question changes everything, because the answer is rarely the object. It's confidence, comfort, recognition, escape, hope. And once you recognize the emotion, you realize something remarkable. Many of those needs can never truly be purchased. Our ancestors survived because their brains urged them to consume every opportunity they found. That instinct built civilizations. Today, the same instinct powers shopping malls, online stores, advertising campaigns, and trillion-dollar industries designed to capture our attention. The brain hasn't failed. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do. The real challenge of modern wealth isn't fighting your instincts. It's recognizing that your greatest financial opponent isn't the economy, inflation, or the stock market. It's a Stone Age brain trying to survive in a world it was never designed to understand. And perhaps the first step toward building wealth isn't learning how money works. It's learning why your own mind keeps trying to spend it.